The most common question I get asked when I post my grocery haul videos is, do we buy meat? And if the meat comes out of our grocery budget. If you're just meeting me, my name is Amy Cross and this is the Cross Legacy. For over 4 years now, I have been teaching you how to save money on groceries, and we have hundreds of videos here on the channel. I post all of our grocery hauls, and also every 2 weeks, we come out with a video that shows all the meals that I made with the ingredients that we have in our house. So let's talk about what our grocery budget is in total first. So per person, it is $135 per person per month for groceries in our house. And currently, in the last year, a little bit over a year, it's just been my husband and I here. So our grocery budget has been $270 per month. Now we do have college age students, so if they were home for like the entire summer, I would add them back to the budget. But since they're normally only coming in for like a weekend or a day, then I don't worry about it. And I'm able to stick to that 270 for over a year now. So when our kids were home and we were also foster parents, we could have went from a family size of 2 all the way to a family size of 8 at various seasons of our lives here. And that grocery budget for us would max out at $1,000 a month. And that's because that's what we could afford, and that's where we set our grocery budget at. About 10 years ago, I bumped our grocery budget up from what it used to be at $100 per person to $135 per person. And that's when I started focusing on quality ingredients and not just what was the cheapest thing on the shelf, but trying to buy more organic things and things that were better for us. So that being said, about 10 years ago, we bumped it up to $135. I have not had to change the grocery budget in these last 5 years, even with all of the craziness with inflation and prices changing at the grocery stores. So things in that grocery budget are things that we eat to make sure that we have the ingredients that we need in our house so we can have the meals that we need to have. So that $135 per person is the food that we eat, the ingredients that we bring into our house, those kind of items. If it's a household item or a personal item for like cleaning products or shampoo, those kind of things, that goes on a household budget. And in different seasons of our lives, we've had really tiny household budgets, and other times we've had more access to funds that we can spend a little bit more. But I keep those 2 items totally separate. In my grocery cart, I'll even do 2 transactions, especially if I'm getting more than 1 item that's in that household budget. So I just do 2 transactions when I'm there at the grocery store. It's not a big deal to just say, this is the end of this order I'm paying, and this is the next order. And this is another spot that kind of confuses people. I go grocery shopping once every 3 weeks to 4 weeks. And so I normally say that I go grocery shopping every 3 weeks, but I try to push it out 4 weeks. There is something mentally that happens in my brain when I think that I'm only going grocery shopping once a month that it just overwhelms me. But if I say, and I plan for once every 3 weeks, it doesn't seem like it's such a big deal. And oftentimes at that 3-week mark, I am looking at what we have and being able to push that out 4 weeks. Sometimes even I can push it out 5 weeks. So it is once a month that I pretty much go to the grocery store. But for me, there's just mentally something about saying once a month. It's just overwhelming to me. So that's why when I go to the grocery store, it's set at this. But my husband, on his payday, he puts the money into my grocery budget. So he gets paid twice a month. So every payday, he ends up putting $135 into my grocery budget. So that money is just always there whenever I do choose to go to the grocery store. And the grocery budget money goes into its own debit account, and all we use for that money is groceries. So we have another debit account that is for our household expenses. This is totally just for groceries. We don't use it for anything else. And since we're talking about the meat budget, I just want to say we used to have the grocery debit account, and then we also had a grocery savings account that we would put that money into to save for this meat budget. But the last couple of years, I've just rolled that all into the same debit account, and then I keep track of where I'm at in my planner, so I always know what is available to spend right now and what I'm holding on to for a larger purchase later. So we've done some other videos on talking about how I separate the grocery budget, how we figure out how much we have for going out to eat and how we put those on our budget, all those different kinds of budgeting tips we have in other videos, but I want to concentrate the rest of this video on talking about the meat purchase. So I try to plan every month to set aside about $50 a month out of my grocery budget that goes directly into the sinking fund. So into that bulk meat purchase when I am actively saving for the next purchase. So when our family size was larger, we would get that purchase about every 18 months. And now this last one we got right at the 2-year mark with it just being Mike and I here. I'm kind of pushing it out a little bit further this time. One, because we are moving, so there's a lot of extra expenses happening right now, but I'm pushing this next one out for 2.5 years until we'll get the next purchase. On average, the meat costs us about $4.50 over the last 5 times that we have done this. So we do buy from a local farmer and we get a really good rate. We can talk about that in more videos. I just want to really kind of try to stick to the budget and how we pay for this today. So based on that, we end up with a fee around $1,200. And if I'm putting away $50 a month, we have almost that amount in that savings account by the end of the 2 years. So sometimes I need to add a little bit more, sometimes it's a little bit less, but $1,200 is a good rule of thumb for how much it has cost us over the last 4 or 5 times to get a half a beef. So when there were more people here at the house and my grocery budget was a lot bigger at $1,000, I would set $75 total aside and I would get that meat order sooner. So you can do whatever's best for your family. If you have extra funds and you can put it into a savings account just to start setting aside for the bulk purchase, that's great. But for us, it took a long time to be able to make that first purchase. I grew up on a farm. I'm a farm girl, so talking about some of these things don't bother me. So if it bothers you, I am sorry. So I'll just clarify that. But when you start a cow process, you start it when the calf is purchased or brought onto the farm, however it's brought onto the farm by the farmer. And most of the time, that's when you will pay a deposit. It takes 2 years to raise that calf into a cow. And so that's why we kind of base this off of a 2-year cycle. So we know the farmer that we are working with, and we know the quality of life these cows are having and all of those kind of things. So if you wanted to get meat sooner than that, there are other options where you can go through butcher shops, or you might be able to contact a farmer that has meat that's ready to go sooner. But the way that we do it is we start the cycle right when the calf is brought onto the farm, and then we wait until that cow is ready. So we don't always know when that cow is going to be ready to harvest, is what they call it. And sometimes there's a give or take of a few months. When we did this last meat purchase, which has just arrived, we did not know we would be in the middle of a moving process right when it was arriving. So sometimes you just can't plan for that next stage of your life and you just have to go with it. And some people have noticed when I've been talking about my grocery budget that I have been planning for things like road trips and buying some extra snacks or different things that I don't normally buy and using more of the grocery budget. One of those reasons for that right now is we told the farmer to hold off. We didn't want them to get that calf right now at the spring time when they get the calves. We told them to hold off until the fall. So since we're in this middle of the transition and I know I can make the meat last 2.5 to 3 years, I knew that I could wait until the fall and be able to have a little bit extra in our grocery budget for all of these things that are happening in our lives right now and pick up saving for the next meat purchase in the fall. So in my grocery planner, I keep track of when I went to the grocery store, how much I spent, and also that carryover amount. So I think it's kind of neat, even though we're not actively saving for the next meat purchase right now, I'm still in the habit of not spending everything that I have available. So I had a carryover amount in my grocery budget of $63.60 when I went grocery shopping, and then Mike added the $270 to that. And then after I went grocery shopping this time, now my carryover amount is $121. So I still have that buffer in my grocery savings account that I can use. It's like summertime here. I love going to the farmers markets. And since we're moving far away, like going to some of my favorite farmers markets before we move and being able to have those experiences, I'll probably end up spending some of that at those farmers markets, getting seasonal produce and just, you know, fun things that we like to bring in during the summertime to mix up our meals. So with that, normally like in the summertime, I am slicing up peaches and freezing them so we can use them the rest of the year, or getting extra things like green beans that we normally only get in the summertime and can use, or harvest season tomatoes that are fresh from my garden that we can make fermented salsa. It's pickle season, like all of the things. So I love being able to get cases of items at the farmer's market, and some of that extra buffer of the budget is what I save to do things like that, which ends up saving us money over the entire year. So we have a lot of videos on canning and storing produce items if you're interested in them. So even if you don't have an extra freezer and can do like a half of a beef, a large bulk purchase of meat like we do, putting money aside into a grocery savings account, or however you allocate those funds to be spent for future food for your family. If you're buying meat in bulk and just putting it into your kitchen freezer, it's still a great thing to be able to get into this habit of not having to spend all of the money that you have for groceries that day, and start thinking about long-term food for your family. So the current price that I'm getting our meat for is $4.50 per pound. It will vary wherever you are and who you know, but it is really important as you're thinking about those things, and know that my hamburger is $4.50, but so is my steak. So every piece of meat that I'm getting off of the cow is at that $4.50. So it really shows when you go to the grocery store and you start looking at the prices of some of those higher cuts of meat and how much they are, how much you will end up saving when you are able to buy big, large meat purchases like this. And if you don't have enough freezer space, try to buy it like in conjunction with other family members or friends, that you guys can get that lower rate, and then just use the space that you have available in your freezer. I just want you to know that this number doesn't have to be exactly set, exactly the same number that I use for our family, for your family. That just do what works in your budget. This was the number that we were able to afford, and we have been able to stick with that budget now for over 10 years. And even though we can afford a lot more, it really gives us a peace of mind knowing that we are frugal with the food items that we're bringing in the house, but it's letting us make memories with our kids and do other things because we're not being wasteful. So if you want to see tons more videos on how to reduce your food waste, make sure that you're subscribing to this channel. I post videos all of the time on our grocery hauls, the meals that we're making. And if you didn't know, I actually had a TED Talk because of reducing your produce waste. So the average family is throwing away 40 to 60% of the food that they're buying, and we have a zero food waste in our house, and that is so important. So if your grocery budget is $1,000 a month and you're throwing away $400 to $600 of those groceries a month, you will see why our grocery budget is able to stay so low, still being able to buy organic things that we really care about. So we have the Zero Waste Produce Guide that goes through 75 produce items A to Z to teach you how to keep them fresh for weeks. And then we have the Grocery and Meal Planner that helps you stay on budget and know what you have in your house and what you're spending for groceries. So these two items are on sale in a bundle, and they will be linked in the description. And there's also a discount code that will be in the description that you can add on top of those. So make sure that you check out these two items, hit subscribe to the channel, and know that I answer every single one of the questions and comments when they're appropriate about things, but it's also how I base more videos. So if you're asking lots of questions about things that you want to know more about purchasing meat, I will make more videos for you.